Okay, this is the third and final joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance to discuss operating and capital budgets, certain capital budgets. But before we get to that, our first item is a review of our June 30th, 2012 audit. We have with us tonight Scott Bassett from McClattery in Poland. Scott, would you like to give us the highlights?
Hey, good evening. For the record, my name is Scott Bassett. I'm a partner with McClattery, and we did the audit for the town of Woodbridge for the year ending June 30, 2012. And I'll go through the highlights of the audit. First off and foremost, the town received an unqualified clean opinion, which would be expected. As part of our audit, we audit under government auditing standards, the State Single Audit Act and the Federal Single Audit Act. Under those three additional criteria, the town did not receive any findings or question cost or findings in internal control. And when I say the town, that incorporates all the departments, whether it be the Board of Ed, here at Town Hall, tax collector, things like that. So we do a lot of planning with that. For the fiscal year, on a full accrual basis of accounting, assets exceeded liabilities by $57,926,000. And that $57 million number is really your investment in your infrastructure, your capital assets, and things like that. And that increased by $645,000 from the previous year. On an overall general fund basis, your budgetary basis, your general fund balance of $5,965,000 represents 11.5% of your total general fund expenditures. That's a benchmark where basically Tony's probably, when he goes through the rating agencies, they're asking him to, where's your fund balance and what's the percentage, and you're right where I would think they'd want you to be. On a GAAP basis, the town had an increase in its fund balance of $443,000. You had a tax collection rate of 99.57, and property taxes represent 93.7 of your total general fund balance. Actually, on a budgetary standpoint, the town had a planned use of fund balance of $400,000 that was anticipated for the year in June 30, 2012, but was actually able to increase fund balance by $297,000, which gives you a favorable balance if you're measuring from where you expected to be and where you ended up, of about $700,000 from the plan for June 30, 2012. There were no significant variances from the budget numbers to the actual numbers. And as I mentioned, we had no significant deficiencies or findings in the current year. Those are the financial highlights. As always, we received full cooperation from both the town and the Board of Ed and all the departments that we dealt with. I believe this is Tony's 18th year, or not Tony's, but almost though, Tony. Okay. Receiving the CAFR, which basically, what the CAFR does is it provides a lot of information to the reader of the financial statements and a lot of statistical 10-year trend information, which is very helpful if you go through the process. This is a 130-page document. If anybody really wanted to go through the financial highlights just like I did, Tony writes an MD&A, a management discussion and analysis, which is pages 3 through 10. And I would strongly recommend you read those pages. It's in a narrative format that talks about the highlights of the town. Tony does a nice job putting that together, and it talks about the things that I pretty much just went over.
I don't think are there any questions for Scott? I think that's a good idea. If you read the letter from Tony, I think that I read through it covers just about everything you need to know. I think Scott is just here to be an outside representative telling us that Tony's doing what he's supposed to do.
Tony's doing a great job.
Right. So, if there are no questions, thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the library, and that is tab 1550, and I believe we also have the chapter.
Yeah, I thought we'd start with a little PowerPoint I have, and then we can go to the
budget and the capital, if that's all right. Sandy, hope I won't blind you.
Nope, you're fine.
Yeah.
Do you want me to turn the light off? Would that be better for you?
Oh, actually, yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
So basically, this PowerPoint is sort of some measurables, kind of a status update of what's going on here at the library. The first one is library traffic. The blue bar graph, about 3 years ago, we had about 40,000 patrons in the library over the course of the year. We do sampling throughout the year to try to kind of get a gauge for that number. And this past year, we're projecting to be at almost 50,000. So it's an increase of almost 10,000 in 3 years. So we are still growing. Foot traffic is still growing, which is a really good indicator for the library. Programming, we were under 10,000, and now we're up to about 13,000 attendance. And then, of course, other has also continued to increase at the same level over the last 3 years and then projected for this year. So we're in good shape there. Library card holders in Woodbridge. 3/4 of Woodbridge residents have library cards, potential a quarter. And one of the things we're going to do this year is we want to try to get mailers and information to new residents who move into the area about the library and getting a new card immediately, so they can we can kind of catch them right away. Something we're going to be working on here this year. What do our patrons check out? Adult books and children's books are still the large percentage of our checkouts. Audio's kind of holding steady. But video and other are both increasing dramatically over the last several years. 10 years ago, those items would have been much smaller in the pie chart. Ebooks and passes, but ebooks is really the one that we're projecting the next 10, 20, 30 years is really going to take off. It's been slow growth here in Woodbridge and really across the U.S. It's still just a small percentage still, but that is an area that we're really working on to try to make more titles available. Slowly the publishers are kind of coming around and starting to realize that they need to work with libraries rather than adversarially, but that's kind of in the works. It's kind of an ever-changing market. That kind of gives you an idea of where things stand right now for the average checkouts for the library. How does Woodbridge Library stack up? The reason I picked Litchfield, Reading, and Old Saybrook is their populations and their library expenditures are similar to Woodbridge. So we have circulation per capita. We're in good shape. We're actually at 21 circ per capita. Litchfield is in the high teens, and then Reading and Old Saybrook, it's around 13 items per capita. Circulation per hour, we're up in the mid-60s. Litchfield through Old Saybrook are around the 40s to 50s area. Interlibrary loans. This is a really important indicator and factor for the library and for our state grant formula. Again, using the same libraries as a comparison. Idle items to Woodbridge residents. We did almost 18,000 items last year to our residents that come in from external libraries. And you can see the comparison, how that works. ILO residents to non-Woodbridge residents, you can see in the red cylinders there. We did over 22,000. And our net result, which is a very important number, our net result was about 3,600. There's an enormous amount of library staff time that goes into this. And this is the bins you see, the C-car that comes, a delivery van we get Monday through Friday every day, not just in line, but throughout the state. And this enables us to attract more items from other areas, as well as patrons from other areas can look at Woodbridge's collection. They could live in Old Saybrook or Reading and say, you know what, I really like what Woodbridge is doing, so we want to get some of their items. And you can see right here that number 3699, we are 9th in the state of Connecticut in that net lending. And that number is massively important for the financial money that we get back from the state, which I'll get to that number in a minute. These are the kinds of things we buy with that money on an annual basis. And this is just in this calendar year. 10 new computers, 2 iPads, a Kindle, and a Nook. We got a few printers, children's carpet, some video shelving, a few of our Civil War commemoration events on the speakers we paid for, and public computer management software. Annual state grant revenue. We had a high in 2012 of almost 18,300, and the rules are we get it that year and we have to spend it that year. So usually we have long-term plans in place to kind of enable us to do that. Even though our formula keeps going up and our number keeps going up, they cut the formula a little bit last year, and we're projecting this next year to be cut slightly again. So it's something we really have our eye on, all libraries do, because we really rely on this number. It's very versatile. It's great for myself to be able to have it to kind of manage and move around. As you saw from the previous slide, we can spend it anywhere from technology to staffing to furniture. You know, it really is there to kind of help us, and not really be a necessary hard line item. It's a variable. This is a number that we also pay great attention to. Woodbridge, we were 21 items per capita, circulation per capita last year, and out of 164 Connecticut libraries, which is a very positive indicator. Darien, Westport, New Canaan, and Greenwich, their budgets are all $4 to $10 million for the library. So that kind of, the fact that we're up near there is a very good indicator, as well as Clinton and Durham and some others that have much smaller expenditures. So that's something that we're proud of, and we hope to keep continuing growth on that. Accomplishments in the last year: ebook kiosk table for patrons to learn, inquire, and utilize iPads, Nooks, and Kindles. Civil War commemorations, we did quite a few events at the library throughout that. Blu-rays are circulating for the first time. They're doing really well. We just brought them out in November, and we expect to keep that growth going in a positive direction. Total patron traffic this year, again, as I said, will be almost 50,000. And we had almost 500 programs attended by 13,000 patrons. And what those programs were, we broke down here by age. You can see there's a pretty nice comparison of 4 quarters of kind of where we try to program. And specifically, 3 to 5-year-olds had the most, 155 programs. Overall, 0 to 5-year-old programs accounted for almost 60% of our programming. And we really try to keep that number up for the kids as they're developmentally going through the early stages of schooling. We have a few pictures just from some programs that we do at the library. Kind of some library goals for the next year. We're going to reorganize our adult fiction collection so we can get all our author works together regardless of genre. Right now we have a lot of different genres. It can be a little bit confusing, so we're going to try to get all the works by one author together no matter what fiction collection they may be in. That's going to be a large project. One-on-one ebook tutorials we're doing now, as well as classes for ebook devices we're going to start doing. More ebooks available through the Wine Consortium. And also we're going to start a Spanish language collection this year. That's something we're going to embark on. And that's all for the presentation. Thank you. Any questions on that stuff before? Yes?
Todd, can you define patron visits? Is that just people walking in, or is it people?
Visible as patron visits, yeah. Circulation per capita is the actual transactions that they're taking, whether it's a museum pass, a DVD, or a book.
So patron visits is somebody walking in to browse.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, attending a program, dropping something off, just taking a peek. Yeah.
Thank you for your support on the Civil War.
Sure.
The statistics are impressive.
Good. So if we move on to the budget, I know non-salary increases were 0.05% of our budget request, and really the crux of that is on the final page of the budget narrative. Books and periodicals 55,300, and we had hoped for a 2% increase in that area. Again, this area, the publishers are basically, more cost increases every year for the materials. They keep raising prices on items, and that's kind of where that comes into, is kind of the across the board projected increase for those items. Subscriptions, $200 more, the one right underneath that, and a lot of those are items in the Woodbridge room that was renovated last year. Otherwise, there's not too much discrepancy.
The budget is pretty stable to say the least.
Right.
And, are there any questions? I think the presentation says it all.
Quick question?
Yeah, sure.
The oil heating goes from 14,000 to 0, the gas is 13,000, is that?
Yeah, you got to fine tune that.
We're fine tuning that number with the gas company to
Yeah.
get more accurate numbers. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll be able to incorporate that into the selectmen's recommendations.
I think you probably should, it shouldn't be the same as heating.
No. It'll be.
Yeah, I was very
It'll be
conservative on
reduced.
this. Yeah.
No, we'll take care of that.
Okay.
That's like drop offs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Right.
gonna drop off.
And again, this was a few months ago too when I had first done this, before the project was in its
Right.
You were the first facility to be on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We thank you for
Okay, any questions for Todd?
Todd, could I ask you one question? You described in your presentation how the sections of the pie chart are growing in some of the electronic media, and you're working to keep up with that demand, I guess. Is that a fair description?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that effort on your part, it's a changing landscape as far as the library is concerned, but it's all reflected in this books and periodicals line item.
Yeah, we pay, part of that is our consortium, we pay a certain amount of money for ebooks. We also get a certain amount of our IT support for our technology. So the computers we buy with the state grant money, the line staff comes out of our consortium. They work on it. They kind of keep us up to date with the software. And we are always shopping for other ebook providers. And probably in this year, I would guess we're going to probably move on to an additional ebook provider, because some of the providers have different contractual obligations with certain authors, and some we can't get yet. Some of the larger ones don't have any contract with libraries. So as that expands, we will use some of that money and some of the state grant money to provide the technical kind of updates and ebook updates, really.
So it almost sounds like a subscription. I guess that's part of why I'm asking.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, it changes a little bit every year based on the input, how many titles we want. For instance, the ebook one with the consortium, that we increased that just recently. Every Christmas we try to, because so many people get devices for the holidays, we try every holiday season to change the allotment and kind of influx a bit of money. But again, that's from our line consortium. So that number there you see, $35,550 that we spend on our, roughly part of that also goes to technology, which includes computers and ebook availability.
Thank you.
One of the things that Todd mentions in his narrative is he's the vice president of Lion, which is the consortium, and next year will become the president.
Yeah, July 1st I'll be the president of Lion for 12 months. So we've got 25 or 30 libraries in Lion now. So I'll be able to help kind of dictate the path that we're taking. And certainly ebooks is very high on our agenda, as well as some other libraries may try to join Lion, which is always nice. More libraries, more collection availability, as well as keeps our costs down. We really haven't had a cost increase in Lion for the last few years, and that's something we want to try to keep as a positive, because this day and age, most everything keeps rising.
So Todd, from the conference that you just went to, were there any takeaways from a technology perspective that we need to
Yeah, there's a lot.
be aware of?
A lot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I went to a lot of technology updates. And it was great to talk to other librarians and other geographic areas about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And really it was nice to see the ebook providers kind of competing with one another, because that's what we need to have happen to make it more available for us.
Right.
It's kind of hear more from librarians' perspective. We understand that the arguments from the authors and the publishers about what they want, but we're starting to see authors kind of sidestep their publishers and say, you know what, we love libraries, we've worked with libraries for our whole lives. Maybe we're just going to start dealing with this library system and contracting with them directly. And then the library systems are starting to buy up some of the technological support to provide actually ebook access directly through them, and totally skipping the publisher. And right now, things like that kind of seem to be catching on.
That's fascinating.
As a way to deal with the,
So Lion would be a network like that. That
Exactly.
they would deal
So
with.
we're going to have some demos this year, and we may start to talk to some other other consortia that have done this. And usually they start small with local authors. So authors in Woodbridge or other areas or small publishers in the area that may have, that may say, you know what, we don't care if you have 30 copies of our item, we just want it to go out, we get our name recognition, and then they tell their friends if they like it, and that's kind of how libraries work, is we kind of spread the word. So that's something we're definitely looking into. Otherwise, there's a lot of notes I haven't compiled anything yet, but
No,
I'm sure I'll give
I understand.
a report to the board.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I think it was last year you talked about the astronomical increase in the price of ebooks.
Yes.
And is that price coming down? Or is it still a battle?
Overall, it probably came down last year. What we did is we put in stipulations. For instance, HarperCollins tripled our price of libraries to pay for ebooks from kind of the big selling authors. So we put in a stipulation that we would not go over a certain amount of those titles. So even if they were best selling, we were not going to spend $100 for one ebook. Because what they do is they also limit the amount of times it can circulate. They set it at 26. So whenever we buy a title through HarperCollins ebooks, it can circulate for 26 cycles. So whether it happens in 26 days and people just go through it, or it takes 26 years, it expires then and you get nothing else from it. So this is what we mean by the publishers are kind of delving into things, kind of see what the market is. So we told them we would not spend, I think it was over $50 for a title. And most of them are much less than that. They probably average about 30. But they raised them to quite a bit, over $100. So that's kind of where this whole, it's called the Big Six. The Big Six publishers, HarperCollins is one of them. That sort of, at first they started together adversarially against libraries and said we're not going to provide to libraries because we don't spend as much on them as the stores do. And now they're starting slowly one by one to kind of come into the fold and say, you know what, we do need libraries. We're getting terrible PR and we're losing money. So yeah, it's kind of where it is. Yeah.
As far as capital goes, I think we're pretty much aware. A lot of it's carpeting. I think we've been well established.
Yeah, and the last page is
a self-checkout machine down the road.
Yeah, I just saw more demos this week about those. I keep pushing it back because the price of this keeps dropping so fast that I'm trying to hold out until it's really necessary. Right now, it's kind of a nice toy. We don't necessarily need it for the price. So in another year or two, we might more assess as other libraries, especially in line, are starting to buy these. Some of the larger libraries that have more disposable income, they're kind of getting a better feel for it. And then that's something on the horizon. And then the last page, I had started the first floor remaining carpet replacement, and it's FY19. It's $50,000. That was before the current carpet project had begun. You know, I had done this in the fall, and we realized that because the bids came in under budget, we're going to do so much more of the first floor. That number is going to come down a lot for fiscal year 18. So I know that's ways off, but it's just something to mention.
Coming up, are you closing for 2 or 3 days?
Yeah, next week. Tomorrow we have the tile in the meeting room going in. We'll just close the meeting room tomorrow, and then next Wednesday through Friday is a lot of the first floor, a lot of shelf moving and book moving, so that'll be a big project next week.
Okay.
Closed on the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
That's it. Did you see on your receipts or your?
I see it about 5 times a day. I'm always online. So anytime I request a title, it just pops up.
Well, and so you're reading them then, so we know the patrons are.
It's also on the town website.
So, yeah, there you go.
And it's in the doorway.
It's in the doors.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, it's everywhere.
Okay. Todd, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks to the members of the commission.
Appreciate your budget.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Getting down to the end, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Next is Public Works, which is 1310. We have Warren Connors with us tonight. You guys get a little unexpected work the past day or so?
This year is full of surprises for you guys.
That's called something else, right?
Next will be locusts.
Please.
How about butterflies? I like those better.
That's better.
All right, you start with your Warren is also going to do waste management, I believe. Yeah. So, but on Public Works, to be honest with you, I mean, it's a 1.1% increase. Unless you want to say something about your objectives or whatever, I think it's a responsible budget. I don't think there's too many questions.
Obviously, not much has changed in the budget.
one of the things under rental equipment, that's 53,610. Some of the things that basically are changing there is the street line and symbol painting. Costs for that are going to increase because there's a mandate that you no longer can have a single yellow line on the road. So all the lines that will be painted in the future will be a double line on the road. That should help to some degree too with the nighttime visibility on the road. But we're also adding a lot more symbols and markings on the road, school zones and things like that. So those things all contribute to the increase in cost. The number that I provided was a best guess estimate based on, increasing the paint for the center line. So until these services go to bid anyways, all the contracted services, we won't have a hard number to assign to them. So they're usually based on, like the catch basin cleaning, it's an average price between the highs and lows to set by the number of basins we do on an annual basis. Let's see, the other thing that changed there is in the road maintenance 55,170, basically focusing more on the crack sealing element, more so than we eliminated the chip seal process. The capital budget is addressing the major road work. In the operating budget, we have some maintenance services, and the chip seal is no longer an effective process. So focus on the crack seal to preserve the roads. As they start to get some signs of failure, to address those and seal it so water can't permeate those surfaces, keep those good roads good so we don't have to keep investing in pavement replacement. And that's the biggest changes in the operating budget.
Any questions for Warren?
Hopefully in the next fiscal year, there'll be no hurricanes, no October snowstorms, and you'll be in your new home, hopefully,
Yeah.
by the time we meet next year.
Hopefully. Yes. That would be great.
Tell us how wonderful it is. Okay, waste management, which is $1350. Again, it's pretty just basically salary. So.
Yeah, the salaries. Further into the year, we'll get a better handle because we have to go out for bid services for our hauling, and any of the tip fees that we may have associated with disposal of products will be more firmly established as we move forward. It's a little early to put any numbers associated with those things.
Okay. Any questions on waste management? Did you do remediation?
Yeah, go over it quickly. Yep.
Can I ask just how the recycling is going in terms of the?
It's actually, we're still in a transition. We're increasing the volume of recyclables, and the goal is to get the household waste to have that reduced and to put more in the recycling. We are taking at least a recycled can a day out of there. Residents are very good in following, their responsibilities. Okay. So we don't know further down the road how the disposal, where we dispose of our products, how that's going to impact us. But obviously, right now the program is working as intended.
Okay. Has the single stream recycling increased the amount of recycling that people are doing? Have you noticed that, or is
it's
it about
really
the
hard,
same?
other than what we get in the containers and knowing that we're pulling a can a day out of there.
Yes.
I would say that it's increased by volume.
Okay.
It's hard to tell because we get a lot from the contractors that pick up. And I think overall the tonnages, we don't have the end of year numbers to plug in to see how much it's impacted. So we're referencing, let's say, the quarterly collection and projecting that out. So it's once we get into the year, because basically we've only had a year under our belts to establish anything. So people following the program, we do get calls that
you know, from the initiative of residents that are very responsible, if they see something out of place, they're very vocal about it, which is good. So I think the point of recycling is a necessity, and that's getting out to residents.
Okay, thank you, Warren.
No, we can go.
Remediation is next, 1351, which is really nothing. I guess actually we're actually reducing it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was reduced, but we do have some testing responsibilities, and we have we're going to actually have one well that we can close up. And
right.
The cost and merit is associated with that.
Okay, I'm assuming there's no questions on this.
No.
Okay. Warren, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How much of a mess is the town? How bad is it?
That's bad.
I don't think we were as bad as some other towns. We had some late removal things due to wire involvement, so we had a couple guys stay late, but we didn't do too bad. It's just the timing of the store, first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Fry this morning. 6:30.
Okay, next is employee benefits, which is 1710. I'll run through this, Tom.
Yeah.
Are these numbers, these aren't cast in stone yet, right?
No, the ones that are cast in stone are top four, which would be FICA, Medicare,
Yeah.
and we received the retirement numbers from the state already, which is pretty early this year. So those are actually correct. The healthcare is very preliminary, so those have more to come there. We hope to have some savings there.
You said we had a good claims year, right?
We did, yeah. So we'll have definitely more on that. That's probably the big change there. And workers' compensation is still preliminary also.
Okay.
So those figures will hopefully.
So those three health insurance might
three health
change?
insurance numbers will probably change in the workers' compensation.
Okay.
I would just chime in early support of the continuing OPEB contribution. I think
Good point.
I think what the town is doing in that regard is responsible and proactive, and shows a great deal of foresight.
Agreed, Lawrence.
There's only a handful of towns in the state that are doing that.
I was going to say, they can probably count them on not even two hands.
Right.
And we now have it all structured in the
Right.
investment
We
committee.
did our regular
Doing it, right, that's doing well.
updates, yeah.
Good.
So,
That's great.
are any questions on benefits? Do you have anything on revenue, Tom? Not yet?
Yeah, it's very preliminary. What I do want to point out is, however, the big thing on revenue, most of the revenues are the same, except for the state. That's the big question, of course. And when the governor has his address, that'll give us at least a clue as to where we're headed. And,
When's that?
It's only going to go down. It's not going up.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay.
yeah.
One thing I would count on is Woodbridge isn't getting any more money.
Right, that's probably a fair statement. What I did do is,
Probably not Scots for some.
we have the,
Pass this out.
yeah, here, so let's take, I'll give you three here. What I did do is put together all of the requests into a format
Yep.
that you're familiar with.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And so there's a couple of comments on this. This is the, you can see the expenses increased 5.76%. This is a preliminary figure from Amity, of course, so we have to stay tuned on that. And these are all the requests that you've received as you've received them. So, and then the non-tax revenues, of course, the state is our big question mark there. But you'll see we have the mill rate there is 35.76. So gives you an idea of where we are currently.
Although Bessie did tell us the grand list is kind of flat.
Yeah.
Is that a guesstimate?
That's the actual figures on the grand list.
Oh, she finished it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also included in there is her final numbers and some estimates on our elderly tax program that we have. Made some adjustments to that based on our activity levels. And so that's a bunch of things combined, but that's where it is, yeah. That's,
So it did
that's
go
as-
up a little bit.
Yeah, that's how she's
Okay.
filing it, yeah.
Okay.
So again, just to reiterate, the total expenses for 13-14 of $47,266,679 is 100% of all requests.
Correct.
Okay. Which includes, of course, as you can see, a lot of capital.
Correct. Capital is over twice
Right.
from last year.
Right.
So that's it.
Okay. So again, the next step in this is that the Board of Selectmen get together sometime in February.
Right.
And we get together sometime
It's early March, right?
early March.
First week of March or something.
They take the first crack at it, and then we see if we agree with them or we want to go any further with changes.
Right.
So, okay.
Good.
Are you ready to go, Dr. Stella, or you want to wait the full? We can get you out of here early if you like. You know, we're
Ready, could you give us a few minutes to set up?
we're ready to go.
We are putting it down, thank I have to say there was an evacuation of the building.
Yeah, well, let me just give an update to people who are watching here. As of 4 o'clock this afternoon, 663 residents were without power in Woodbridge. And the UI crews are working now, and they'll be working throughout the night to restore power, and they expect that all power will be restored by noon tomorrow. And if anyone wants further information, they can contact 1-800-722-5584. And I know that Dr. Stell, before I interrupted him, has been busy with the lack of power at the school and taking care of the students. So do you want to just expand on that a little bit?
You can be sure that I didn't practice my budget presentation today. Last night we had what's called the Superintendent's Parent Academy. We focused on security issues and so on. It was a very good turnout, and it was a very good meeting. And we went over our different protocols at the school and how we're ready for anything and everything, and how we will be having at least one drill a month on the various categories, maybe sometimes two. We haven't had an evacuation drill, for example, but we will be having it in the future. So there was a lot of confidence and a lot of exchange of ideas. Today, again, superintendents are up very early when there's any sign of any kind of problem, and there's a good communication network here. I have to give a lot of credit. All the departments work closely together. So with a tip from the fire department and some call from the police dispatcher and speaking to Warren from the highways and so on, I was alerted to the fact that there were some trees down in Woodbridge, and we did a delay on that to allow adequate time, but then it seemed like everything was fine. The power went off at an inopportune time. We didn't know why it went off or how it went off, so usually we follow our protocol. And first of all, we try to get a sense of, is it a temporary one or is it not? We try to call people from UI to get that. I called Vinny Lazaro, who happened to be in San Diego. But from there, he was able to guide us. And when we found out that it would be a number of hours, then by regulation, we have to get everyone out of the building within 90 minutes. The timing, is that correct, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the timing was not good at all because it was inching up towards the time to pick up Amity students and other students and the senior in the high school. And also we had to get out an instant alert to parents. And when you have a power outage, your wireless goes down, everything goes down. So we had to, we had to make sure that we could get out an instant alert. The long and short was that we moved ahead with it. Gina Prisco, our new principal, is getting baptism by fire, and I have to say she works very well under pressure, and so does the whole administrative team and the staff. But what I would say is that, and Beth Cohen from the bus company, all our bus drivers were terrific. Amity really extended themselves because it meant a delay for them, and I'm sure it caused a lot of hardships because of the timing. But again, this is a BOA area, and everyone works together. Our main goal was to have an accountability for every single student and to make sure every student got home safely. That was our total focus. So Officer Stewart said it, Deputy Chief Stewart said it very succinctly, because he observed the whole affair, and he said that he was extremely impressed with the way it seemed like in almost a moment's notice every administrator and staff member knew what their role was and what they had to do, and how everyone worked so well together. And the focus was on safety, making sure that every child got on the right bus, the right place, because when there's an evacuation, everyone goes on the bus. We take total responsibility for every child and the entire student body. So the children are brought to their homes, and if there's not an adult there, they're brought to center school. So again, we thank the town for the cooperation on the town side, and the police. Sergeant Bolts was in operation directing traffic up here. Officer Lynch with the state trooper from Bethany and Anthony Taddy were at the school, because in an instant alert, as part of our protocol, parents are told not to go to the school, to come, to either wait for their child at home or go to center school. It's important that everyone cooperate with this here, that we have no exclusions. So, and then our administrative staff, members of the staff, and our teachers. Our teachers were very, very supportive. Went right over to center school to greet the children as they were coming there, to make them feel comfortable and relaxed, and to talk with the parents, because everyone gets a little anxious with this kind of thing. So I'm pleased to say that every child was delivered safely. It wasn't a scheduled drill, but we'll classify it as a total drill, because it was a drill for many of our parents too. We have a lot of new parents who are not accustomed to this too, and we'll have to debrief. We have a wonderful safety committee that does a lot of work on this here, very often meets weekly, and see what went right, how we could improve, and that kind of situation. And with parents, we'll get out a communication tomorrow to them to explain exactly what happened, and the importance of cooperating with an evacuation, the fact that we're entrusted with their children, that we will get them home safely, but we cannot have exceptions. Everyone goes on the bus, either to home or goes to center school. So I'm very proud. I have to say I'm very, very proud of our administrative team and the staff, because it was apparent from the very beginning that the total focus was on each child's safety and on the safety of the entire student body. And we notify immediately our board members, our board chair and vice chair. Steve Fleischman is with us tonight. We get any feedback for them, but we give them a heads up, because I'm sure they get all kinds of calls from parents and so on. But this will give us a good basis now for communication and for raising the level of awareness to explain what we do and why we do it. Now, you have to remember too, when there's an evacuation or when the power goes out, that means the PA system goes out, everything goes out, and so on. And there's not an imminent danger, with this type of evacuation, but that we do have to work against the clock.
Just a few comments.
Yes.
From what I understand, it went very well with the administration and staff, getting the kids out, getting them all organized. I guess the biggest problem was parents going to the school, and then parents wanting to just pull their kids out before there was any kind of accountability for the individual students. And I think as a parent, as a parent, you think, well, I got to get my kid. And I think this is really a great opportunity to put this whole thing into effect, because it was an emergency evacuation, although it wasn't, something that had gone horrifically wrong at the school. So it allowed you to go through the motions of putting this into effect and getting everyone to do it and walk through it. I guess the question I have is, do the parents, had they gotten anything ahead of time, or is there anything in the student handbook that would explain this type of procedure? Were the parents aware of how it worked ahead of time, and just a lot of the parents either didn't read it or didn't pay attention to it?
Tom, you've given a good segue, and I could give a simple answer and a more expansive one. Have we done this in the past? Yes. But people forget things. The last evacuation we had was a while back. There was a full explanation and so on, but you don't think about this every day. It's not a common occurrence. And we have our protocols. I have to say the administrative team immediately went to their protocols, knowing exactly what to do. This will give us the basis. So information has been given out, but not recently. And this will be a springboard for communicating with the entire community why we do things. we had to be disciplined because we take responsibility for our children very, very very seriously. So the discipline had to be, we had to stick with our protocol. You couldn't allow some parents, there are reasons for parents not coming to the school with their cars and picking up kids and so on. We have to act with precision and quickly and so on. So that's why we had one of our teacher volunteers, Anthony Taddy, who knows the parents very, very well. He's a friendly face. We also had Officer Lynch. And we had wonderful cooperation from Bethany because our state trooper was right alongside too. And Deputy Chief Stewart came over too. Some parents didn't want to go in and were very insistent upon it. And some parents wanted to board the buses and so on, a small number, but we had to
no, exactly. I think you did what you should have done. You can't let parents trump your procedures, and I think the procedures. So the procedures
were carried out, and we'll explain to the parents afterwards. And I'm sure anyone who disagreed at first will understand what the rationale was. But I would say, by and large, our parent population was extremely cooperative as soon as they got the signals. And our staff, we had our staff over at center school too. We had personal contact with the parents too. I don't know, Steve, did you want to say something?
I was going to say two things. One is the instant alert was very clear. It said, school's being dismissed. This is the protocol. We're not allowing it said you can't come pick up your child. It said specifically where the kids would be. And at the end, it said press 1 if you'll be home for your, so there was actually a response back. My wife's always one of the tougher critics, and she said, make sure you applaud Dr. Stella because she thought that it was the best. She was extremely impressed with the whole process. When the school bus came, there were 2 teachers on the bus, and the 2 teachers made sure that there was a parent who was listed. Every kid had their little card that said who was allowed to pick them up and who wasn't. So every child had that reviewed. And in fact, on our street, one of the parents was not listed, and they wouldn't allow their kid to stay and went back to center school because the parents weren't home. And so having the teachers there, it was really very impressive. And when you think about when the power went out at about 12:15, to have every kid on bus by 1:30, 1:45 or so, by 2. Either way, to do that and have that accomplished is.
That was the impression I got, that it worked. But my only concern is that maybe next year during parent orientation or during the different things, that there's some type of they get something in writing that says, this is what happens, and use the example of what happened today, going forward to say, we understand your concern.
Right.
When 9/11 happened, I went right to Beecher, I took my kids out. And, but that was different, and we're in a different world now. So I think it's important that the parents have it, they get it ahead of time. Whether they read it or not, you're still going to get parents that are going to show up at the school.
Right.
We all know that. Regardless of what we do, they're going to show up, they're going to pull their kids out of school. They need to understand, and if there's a written policy, and I know you're working on a policy with security and safety.
Yeah, there's a written one. We will communicate again with the parents.
But probably every parent should get a copy of that, whether it's in
Absolutely. Tom, you gave a good segue, and Steve, you were very eloquent. Please thank your wife too. But I have to make it clear, the applause doesn't go here. The applause goes to our staff members, our teachers and our staff, our faculty and our staff, and our administrators. They swung into action right away. And it was just marvelous to watch it. Someone could criticize, I wouldn't. They spent so much detail on making sure that child was safe, even if it took some extra minutes to do it. So they knew that right child got on the right bus, and that there were, as you said, there were teachers on the bus to watch out for their safety, and nothing was going to interfere with that. So, so we will use that. Thank you, Tom, for that suggestion.
I think it's
one
important.
Comment can I make too, just that what was impressive, I thought, was I was at a bus stop and I got the same notices that everybody got. There were 2 other parents with me who were each getting our respective children. Every child came off saying to the respective parent, I'm so glad you're here. If you weren't here, if there wasn't somebody here that I had to, who was allowed to go with, we had to go to the school. They all independently knew what they had to do as well. So I don't know who instructed the children. They probably got faster instruction than the parents, but the children knew too. So that was impressive to see. So.
I think it's also important for people to understand there are 740 children at Beecher Road School, and for this to be carried off the way it was is really just an unbelievable feat. And everybody, the staff, the kids, the administration, are all to be complimented on being able to handle that magnitude of people within, a very short period of time.
And again, we're thankful to Beth Cohn and the bus drivers. The Boa bus system is a wonderful one. They know the children, they know the routes and everything like that. And Dr. Brady and our Amity colleagues, I'm sure it caused a lot of inconvenience. The buses got there very late and so on, so we appreciate what they did in helping us out. And we work together to grow our children. But we want our parents to believe in us and trust that we will not let anything happen to the children, and that there's a focus of everyone on each child and on the entire student body. But thanks for that opportunity to say that. It helps me to prepare for this here now. Okay, so I want to start by so good evening to our board of Selectmen, Finance, Mr. Sheehy, Dr. Fleischman, representing our school board, members of the audience. And also, I'd like to talk to the citizens of Woodbridge, wish them a good evening, and this presentation is for them also. It's meant to offer you a budget, but we know that budgets are designed to support an educational mission and a vision. And we'd like to bring out some elements of that mission and that vision as we go along. These are certainly transformational times. The futurist Alvin Toffler says that illiteracy will not be defined by who cannot read or write, but by who cannot learn or relearn. So with our educational mission, we have to make sure that we're creating a generation of lifetime learners. And we have the scholar and the author, famed author, Tony Wagner, who I had the pleasure of working with in California to teach for America during the 90s. He had this to say: the world no longer cares about what you know. The world only cares about what you can do with what you know. So we have to meet all kinds of state mandates and so on, but we have to be sure that we're creating a generation of innovators, creative innovators, who have a breadth of knowledge but know how to knowledge build with others and do something with the knowledge that they have. And one of my favorite authors and editorialist, Thomas Friedman, who has this gift of being able to synthesize things, says that we are in the midst of a perfect storm. What's that perfect storm? There's a great recession that has caused a sharp decrease in employment. At the same time, there's the merger of the technology revolution and globalization that's wiping out many decent wage, middle skilled jobs, and then he says it's replacing them with decent wage, high skilled jobs. But he also says every decent paying job today takes more skill and more education, and in his opinion, not too many Americans are ready for that. And we want to make sure with our educational mission that our children are ready with the types of skills that are needed in their life ahead. Charles Darwin said it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So our educational mission has to be one that's sensitive to the changes that are happening in the world around us, and sensitive to the changes that we project that might happen in the future. These are certainly transformational times, and transformational times bring many challenges. One challenge is to continue to transform Beecher Road School into a model of education that's responsive to the changing world around us. Another challenge is to constantly look to improve student achievement in a meaningful way, in a way that's expected and demanded of the citizens of Woodbridge, a town that values education so much. The challenge that we have, and all districts face this here, there's a tension many times at budget time. We have to seek to become a higher performing district without an unreasonable burden to the taxpayer. We know Woodbridge is a town that supports education. We also know the education budget is over half the town's budget. And that, so we have to balance quality education that's expected with the ability of the taxpayer to pay. We're very mindful of that. And something, again, I thank the boards of education and selectmen and finance and our building committee for looking at this here. They recognize we're dealing with the problem of an aging building, and that's starting to interfere with our educational mission. I could give just a few examples to illustrate. I went to observe the world language class. I walked in, the children weren't there, it was freezing, and there was Greg Poole, our facilities director, on this big ladder, trying to repair part of the heating system. Well, okay, that happens. I went to the other end of the building, the kindergarten class, to read them a story, to get more acquainted with them. The class wasn't there. I found out they were in the library for the entire day because the heating system was off in that part of the building. And another time, a Friday after school, walking around the school, the teacher was in her classroom and very concerned and spoke to me. And Greg Kula came along too. The classroom, that whole unit had been out for several days. And the problem was not the repair, but getting the part that it's not made anymore. Trying to locate one and put it in. Last night we had a meeting of the Parents Academy on security issues and so on, and parents were very supportive and positive about things were happening, but they raised a good question. They said, Dr. Stella, we all know Beecher Road School, the building, the facilities. What happens, and the teachers and staff know it too, what are you going to tell staff when some of the rooms get so unbearable as we, not during the summer, but in the months preceding the summer, when they want to open the outside door to let some air in? And that was a tough question to answer. But I did mention that the town is really looking at and working to come up with a plan to help us and assist us in that way. So we're dealing with that also. It's a challenge. There are challenges and there are transformational times. We need transformational changes. And one of the biggest changes we need is preparing the children for their future, not our past. And their future, we all know this, is going to look a lot different than our past. Other transformational changes that we're facing, we have the Common Core, something that's mandated. What the Common Core is an attempt on a part of our country, 48 states have adopted it, is to raise the bar, to make us more competitive in the global economy with a more rigorous and demanding curriculum. It's complex, however. It calls for curriculum writing, it calls for development of assessments to measure whether or not we're successful and to inform our instruction. It calls for different types of instructional practices. It calls for powerful professional development ongoing, as we mentioned in one of our quotes, to prepare us for a new type of teaching. It calls on us to redesign our learning environments. It involves more implementation of information media and technology skills, an emphasis on life and career skills, and a focus too on innovative skills and critical thinking. Another state mandate required is a new accountability system, not only required by the State Board of Education, State Department, but also it's in legislation, and it was passed July 1st. Every school in Connecticut is going to be put in ranked order as far as performance on the CMT. And every school is going to be demanded to show evidence that every child is making progress in every subject on every grade level. And it's no longer that schools must provide access to a good education to students, but it's now is that schools must guarantee that students are learning and according to their own pathway. And we have a head start at Beecher Road on this here, but there will be individual student success plans. We have it now starting from 6th grade that will go up to 12th grade. And again, we're looking more and more at individual pathways of children. When I went to school, the teacher looked at our class of 48. That was the pathway. And it was usually the middle road, okay, or the high road. But now it's every child's pathway. There's new teacher and administrative evaluation plans. I have to compliment my administrative staff and our teachers. We have been going to so many workshops during this past year trying to figure out exactly all the elements of this complex system and be ready to implement it with vigor and fidelity in the coming year. These are all mandates, unfunded mandates. Now they're state required, but aside from being state required, the way we're doing, we're seizing the leadership. We'll look at this here as a way, an opportunity to raise the quality of education even higher at Beecher Road School, but at the same time, and this is the challenge, maintain the philosophy that we have of looking to be innovative and creative with our children and develop a love of learning. Transformational changes bring challenges, but they also bring opportunities. And I'll refer back to my presentation last year. Progress is made when we have the following elements. When a school district supported by a town, a board of education, and the town has a clear vision, and we've articulated that, and has support for the mission, and all of you have supported us, and tenacity, and we have that. Teamwork, demonstrated so many times, and the resources to do the job, and that's what we're here to ask for. If I had to judge our status right now, everybody working together, I'd say we're ahead of the curve, but this budget will keep us on that path. Okay, let's change now to a different topic. Let's talk about money. I remember last year from this same podium asking you, we came to you with our budget, we started at a 6-point-something% budget, and we said this is not going to fly. We scrubbed every account with help from everyone. We came in with a 3.8% budget. And myself, speaking for the board and for the staff, I said, we can't afford to lose $1 from this budget without this quality of education suffering. Please do not take any dollar away from this here. Please do not take a cent away from this. You listened to us and you supported us. And we said in response that we will come back this year with as near to a zero budget as possible. We kept our promise. In fact, we are figuratively a penny away. Well, maybe not a penny, $93,000 away from zero-based, 0.73%.
Poetic license.
I'm sorry?
Poetic license.
Poetic license, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, before I tell you how we got, why we're asking for $93,000, I want to tell you what this budget in general terms does. It will allow us, we're not going backwards, we're going forwards. It will allow us to maintain our district vision, our initiatives. It gives us the class size that we need, not the lowest class size in the state, not the highest, fits our Board of Ed guidelines and gives the teachers the number of children that, we ask our teachers to do a lot, it's an adequate size. It maintains existing certified staff, and with all the requirements of the many mandates, we're in a good position, and we need that staff. It provides the instructional materials that we'll need, including new resources with board support for mathematics, for science, for our literacy model. It allows us to do what Beecher Road does best. Does it all. Provide for the needs, academic needs, artistic needs, social emotional needs, physical health needs of our children. And we focus on every child. You'll see that as we go along in our presentation. But we have a wonderful problem to wrestle with. The number of children at the advanced level is increasing exponentially each year. And we're looking for ways of focusing on how do we take advanced learners who are able to ace a test, but take them further to their potential. And it meets states and federal requirements, unfunded requirements included, and special ed, which is important. And it provides powerful professional development that will be needed to adjust to some of these mandates and changes, and ties in with our quote before for lifelong learning. We have one of the most highly educated staffs in the state, and we have the data to show that. And it also provides the custodial and building maintenance needs at the building, and we have increased that account. It provides for the transportation requirements and all contractual obligations. So it does a lot. We're getting a lot for, it's a good budget, and we're getting a lot for our money. How do we keep the increase so low? Well, talk about transformational times. We had a transformational approach, which we use once again, and that's interest-based bargaining. And what that, the approach involved not a confrontational one where you with the usual negotiation, you butt heads back and forth and argue, but everyone came together with a renewed spirit of collaboration. The board had an excellent team, the teachers had an excellent team, our district office had an excellent team, Hal and myself, and we spent hours and days. It took longer, this approach takes longer. We spent many, many days during the summer going back and forth around the table. And the approach was to look at it from the point of view of what's in the interest of everyone, starting with students. What's in the interest of teachers? What's in the interest of the town? Not everyone got what they wanted, but we all walked away, everyone walked away feeling that they were heard and respected, and there was an exchange of ideas, and there was a collaboration. Some of the things we came away with was a 1.5 increase across the board, no steps, and an increase in co-pay and insurance. Well, how did we keep the increase so low? We did it through collaboration with the teachers. Collaboration. Last year's certified staff salary increase request was $284,600. This year's request is for $78,455. That request is $206,000 less than last year. Now, the discussions were not all about salaries and health benefits. We also considered what would benefit students. And I give the WA a lot of credit. They stepped forward and said, we'll offer more time, more of our time after school for the kind of expanded professional development that we'll need to be child-centered and do what we have to with our children. So again, it was that kind of fruitful negotiation that took place. How do we keep the increase so low? There was a mutually agreed upon customized design change in the insurance that saved the town a lot of money, while at the same time continuing to provide a fair health plan for the teachers. There was increased employee cost sharing on the premiums, and again, effective plan change, but again, that guarantee that the teachers would have a good health plan. That's what happens when you have the synergy of working together and building on each other's ideas. How do we save money? How do we keep the increase low in the way of saving money? We used zero-based budgeting to the extent that we could. We started at zero at each account. Everyone had it, every department, every grade, every administrator had to defend their request. The request had to align with our mission. There was a wish list. We love to grant wish when we can. They're important too. But we focused on the necessary and on the valuable. How do we keep it low? Continue to use consortium buying. We're joining to the town at the hips. We're joining with other towns and school districts. We want to get the most for the dollar. How do we keep it low? We follow the lead of the town and the charge of the school board. And in record time, we switched to natural gas. And I'm happy to say that Beecher Road School is now being heated by natural gas, and we project that we will have a reduction of $67,000 in next year's budget, 37% in that category. How do we keep it low? We worked hard. Were there any surprises in our budget? Yes. We all know that special education is very, very fluid. We're familiar with the IDA, the Individuals with Disability Education Act. The mandate is that any child with a special need, every child, particularly a child with a special need, has the right to be educated in their neighborhood school, in the least restrictive environment. That means their neighborhood school. It's not only the law, it's the right thing to do. And I give a lot of credit to Sheila Haverkamp and the members of the special ed staff and the other members of the staff, because over the years they've built an outstanding program that goes hand in hand with the general program at the school and allows students who in the past would have to go to another environment for education to get a high quality education right within our own school by highly qualified people, benefiting the child first and saving the town money secondly. There are situations However, when we cannot meet the needs of a particular child. When that happens, then we scrupulously seek out an environment that will meet the child's needs, at the same time with the hope and with the looking towards the future of having that child return at some time. There was a surprise. $88,000 of this $93,000 proposed budget was increases from special education tuition and transportation. It's not unexpected any longer. And we promised we would come to you with whenever there was an increase or a decrease. So this is what we're projecting. There is this may be a surprise to some too. It's an interesting story at least. It's about the enrollment at Beecher Road School. Because there may be a perception among some that we are in steep decline. And I have to say, since I came in here, we have been in decline from the year 2000. But let me share a story with you. We have a demographer who does an update. It's a highly skilled, very well-respected demographer who does an update for us every October. He uses the October 1st data. And he'll look at birth rates, he'll look at patterns, he'll look at our enrollments and so on, and what's being built, what's not being built, and he'll make the best projection that he can. But he'll say, this is not a scientific thing, this is based on the information. Data changes, and we have to look at it every year. So if you look here, let's look at October 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and what the projections were at that time for the years 2012-13, which is this school year, and next school year, 13-14. Those are the 2 years we're focusing on. Now these were the projections. Let's take a walk together. In October 07, they said in 2012, a few years down the line, you're going to have 700, we project 702 children, and 13-14, 609. The demographer came back in 08, looked at the data in front of it, changing data, said nope, make an adjustment. You're going down to 674 and then 658, 13-14. But watch what's starting to happen from October, towards the end of 08, starting in 09. That's when you see what's happening towards the end of 08. He came back and said, no, let's make a correction. It's not 674, it's going to be 692, not 658, 665. And in 10 he came back and he said, no, it's going to be 725 and 702. Then October 11 last year, he said the data is showing, there's a blip on the screen here, something is happening. It's going to be 730, 713. Well, this is the actual enrollment as of last week. Okay, look at the numbers. Okay, and there are 2 more children coming next week. Now his projection on October 1st of 2012 was 727 for next year. And he looks at the birth rates and so on, looks at the kindergarten class. But what he says too is that there's a variable, and I'll get to that variable. Now, what we came up was a conservative projection. We couldn't go with the 727. Well, let me go with this first. These are the changes in the projections. Plus 50 from the projection on 7, 78, 60, 27. As we're getting closer, of course, it's going to be more accurate, 22. Now, if you look at October 1st when he made that projection, we're up from that time. It was 744 at that time. It was 752. So that's a plus 8 right there. We put a conservative projection of 737, but I think it's going to be higher than that. Let's look at data from a different point of view. Okay, this is November 08 was 4 years ago. The blue is the projection line, and the red is the actual. And this is the time where we really see some changes, some contradictions. So that's the projection line. Here's the actual line. Difference of 78 students. So as they would say in my hometown of the Bronx, what's going on here? Because 78 more students, and if we go back 1, We're back at the enrollment figures of '08. So these 4 years are very, very telling. Now, will this pattern continue? Judging by what's happening in the past few months, it seems that way, but we will watch and bring you the data as soon as we get it. So what's the big variable? Don't shout it out, but just think. If you want to write it down, you can. I won't collect it. How many got it right? Real estate. Sandy, you got it right?
I got it right.
The variable is real estate. There's no way to be certain, absolutely certain, who's going to move in or out. No way to be certain of who's going to downsize or relocate. For some, it's time to downsize. People move for other reasons. But what we do know is that there's 28% of Woodbridge residents are 60 years old and over, and that's good. And 20% of that percentage are 65 and older. So changes are going to happen over the years, and for a lot of other reasons too. And then what we were able to, the information that we were able to put together was that there are at least 56 Woodbridge homes for sale right now. Now that was as of a week or two ago. I'm sure it's always in flux. And of that number, 28 are in the affordable range of 200,000 to 500,000. And I think that's a bargain for Woodbridge, a town like Woodbridge, and an educational system, and the kind of government that we have here. So it's within reach of people, and people are moving in. 10 are in the range of 500,000 to 600,000. And 18 go up to $1 million plus. I think, Al, you were looking at one of those houses, right? Now remember, we want to be transparent. Now, credibility means an awful lot to us. In 2010-11, there was an enrollment of 727. We said our class configuration would be based on numbers. We wanted fair numbers and a good-sized classroom, and not be arbitrary. And there were 39 teachers at that time. At that time, we projected that in 13-14 there would be 702 children, and then we said yes, we would eliminate a classroom position if the numbers held up. We always qualified. And we said if the numbers held up in 15-16, then there would be 3 more, a total of 4. Well, the numbers changed. And again, we said we would come back if they changed, and that we're doing. We can't cut any more staff this year because the numbers are too high in the classrooms to maintain adequate staff sizes. Now let's go right to the budget again, the budget pie. Let's see how the slices are. We have 59% on salaries, 19% on benefits. I'm not surprised. This education is a labor-intensive business. We have professional technical services at 3%. That's the use of consultants. Consultants, remember, don't get retirement. They don't get health. They're usually called in for a particular job, do the job. They come in and they're out. With the exception, like we have our network engineer who is employed by ACES. Again, we don't pay for the health or retirement. But we have other things and different curriculum projects that go on, and people come in, or consultants for special education to allow us to keep children at the school. We have utilities at 2%, heating at 1%, property services at 2%, and property services are the maintenance of the building and the grounds, the costs needed to address the needs of an aging building, and we promise to be good stewards of the grounds. With the board support, we did a comprehensive study, and we're working with the town and the school board as far as picking the priority areas to improve upon. There's transportation, that's 5%, and that includes special education transportation. It also includes Ezra transportation of children who live in Woodbridge and purchase of diesel fuel. And then there's tuition, and that's outplace tuition, 2%, and also wintergreen. There's purchase services, which includes the Munis business system that we do in partnership with the town. It includes leases, copiers, tech-related services. And then there's supplies, all kinds of supplies, whether it's notebooks and drawing paper for the children, whatever they need in the classroom, and for the offices that we have, ink cartridges for our computers, all the other technical things that are needed, as well as custodial supplies, cleaning fluids and our towels and anything that we need, waxes. And as furniture and equipment, you know, it's point 3, we really get good use out of our furniture. I think my desk was from the time of George Washington, I don't know, but it's been a while. But we try to get good use out of it and keep the costs low. Dues and fees, any high-performing district that belongs to organizations such as the Connecticut School Board Association or the Organization of Superintendents and the Tri-State Consortium, you know, things of that sort, and then also the Ezra nurses included in that 1%. But here's an insight. Salaries and benefits are under 80%, 78.8% for the first time in years, and that's not an accident. Benefits are almost $200,000 lower than last year. Heating is down 37%, $67,000. Property services are up 13%, $26,000, and our board asked us to do that so that we could increase our attention to maintenance and grounds. Out of district tuition, again, I've mentioned this is up by 32%, $76,000. 32% sounds like a lot, but $76,000 is not a lot in a $12 million budget. Let's look now at budget categories. Okay, here we have salaries. Again, as my friend Al Poole will say, what's the headline on this here? The headline is that the total salary increases is 1.7%. That's the lowest in years. And that benefits are minus 7.15%. Now there's some account categories that have gone up, some that have gone down. I'll give you some examples. We have our heating, that's gone down 37%. And our transportation has gone up 5%. Again, that's special ed, and that's diesel fuel and Ezra. And our out-of-district tuition is up 32%. But when you put them all together, it's an increase of 0.73%, $93,000, and a $12.9 million budget proposal. Now, what does the taxpayer get what do the taxpayers get for their money? Well, what I mentioned before, I'll phrase it this way. I've been in many districts in my long career, seen many schools, outstanding schools included. Beecher Road School is a jewel of a school. It is outstanding. It offers all the types of offerings that it has academically, socially, emotionally, etc. The type of well-educated, experienced staff that it has, the administrators, the facilities that it has as far as the gym, the swimming pool, the large campus. But there's one test that measures hard data, and that's the CMT. By the way, that's going to be around 2 more years, this year and 1 more year afterwards. After that, it's going to go to an assisted technology way of adopting to every child's learning pathway. So we're headed in the right direction with our technology initiative and our focus on learning pathways. But I've given comprehensive presentations to the board, to the parents on this here, and we have one on the website, but I want to give you an executive summary. And I want to be as transparent as possible with this here. Just a quick refresher again, Connecticut Masteries for grades 3 to 8, taken annually. Almost everyone in the school takes it. There's some children even, children with special needs that take it. Some have a checklist, but take some form of it. There are a few basic understandings as far as how the score ranges are. There are 5 categories, and now this is the state talking. There's below basic. That means the student has a little grasp of the subject matter. Basic means has some knowledge. And according to the state, proficient has fairly good knowledge, maybe grade level. Goal, that's where the state wants to bring everybody. The federal government and No Child Left Behind wanted to bring people to proficient. The state wants goal. And advanced, exceptional understanding. So goal is high, advanced is exceptional. Okay, let's take a look. To give some examples. First of all, with all the data, we have really mined our data. There's lots we could talk about. But there are 4 solid statements we can make as a synthesis of the data. First, that the vast majority of students at Beecher Road School achieve in the goal, remember that's high, and advanced exceptional performance range. And that our aim is to move students to the advanced levels of achievement, and those on advanced to bring them even higher in all areas, and move those below goal into that range. And that our students make noteworthy positive growth over time, and we have the data to show that too. And that they are among the top achievers in the state. That being said, we'll go subject by subject for just a summary. I want you to know that Beecher Road School has a diversity. Diversity in background, racial, ethnic, and so on, but also in levels of performance. We know who every child is. We know where they are at. For example, 22 of the 412 children tested performed at the below basic and basic. We know who they are. In many cases, we know some reasons that contribute to them performing low. We know what we have to do better. 22 is 22 too many, and we're doing it. 28 were on grade level. 362 were at the high goal or advanced levels. By the way, I want to mention that not every child coming into Beecher Road School starts at kindergarten. We're seeing this especially over the past few years. You have children coming into 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd. We have children coming into 4th grade, 5th grade. We had one year when we had Nancy White was a teacher there on the 6th grade. Didn't we have 8 children coming in on the 6th grade, and some right before the CMT? Okay, that could be to our advantage CMT-wise, and sometimes, we have to work harder with the children. It all depends. In writing, highest form of thinking, we place a lot of emphasis on that. 25 children below basic, and again, 25 too many. And we have a plan, and we're doing something about it. But you notice too that there's a blimp on the 3rd grade level. Every grade level, there's a different cohort. There's approximately 100 children on each grade level, and each cohort is different. So we use the data to help us with our decision making on how we approach children and where they're at. And our aim, the ideal, is by 6th grade to bring every child up to where they will be guaranteed a good start in middle school. The proficient level, 52, and 352 on the goal in advanced. Science is a very important subject. It's tested on the 5th grade level. I'll start backwards with this here. We have 86% of our children at goal or advanced. Half of our children are advanced levels with this here. And we have some children on the basic. 5 representing below basic or basic. Math is extremely important. More so in today's age and where its children are going. Our aim is to try to get better and better. Here are some of our figures. 8 children below basic or basic. By the time they left 6th grade, though, almost perfect as far as being proficient and above. 35 children on grade level. 374 on goal or advanced. 95% of our children left Beecher Road School at high levels and advanced levels in mathematics. Data is very important, and when it's used wisely, it brings the school and the parents together as partners in working with their children. This is one of the many types of information that goes home to parents sharing data. Everything is transparent, What will this tell a parent about their child who took the CMT? Here's what we know about this child. The student is at gold in all 3 areas. If I'm the parent, I say, look, oh, my child is at gold. Okay. But then it compares the student to the achievement at the school. This child is below the school average in math, although he's at gold. But also goes beyond that. There are 25 strands in mathematics. Okay. What do we know about this child? What areas of mathematics did this child demonstrate that he or she had no knowledge of, couldn't even get to first base with? Strand 11 and 17. And if I look closely, I have to look closer every year, it's estimating and geometric shapes. So the teacher knows that's what I have to differentiate with this child. That's the learning pathway of this child. Then we know, all right, the child passed a number of different strands, but maybe not 100%. So how could I help that child move along? And that's the diamonds that are there. Then also we want to know, what did this child master? And that's the yellow. So we know who our children are. We know what we have to do. And we're ahead of the curve as far as moving. So work in progress, moving towards the individual pathways of children. And a compliment for our Board of Education. We get lots of support. We have people on the board who value education tremendously. They're good representatives of the town. They supported our move to get Inform, which is a data warehousing system, very teacher-friendly, that will allow us to vertically watch every child as they move along and do all kinds of things with data to see how we can best help each individual student. So we know again who our students are, what is needed, and how to teach them. The data helps us to move students along their individual pathways. Data is important, but that's not the essence of Beecher Road School. There's data, but there's the heart too, and stories tell an awful lot. I'd like to tell a story of one of our Beecher Road School graduates, Margot Farrell. She's a wonderful model for our students, and she's a good model for us as we craft each year our educational mission. Margot and her family are residents of Woodbridge. She's a former BRS and Amity student. She's a global citizen of the United States and France. She's a 2012 Olympic bronze medal winner in swimming. And most importantly, she's a lifelong learner, loves to learn, is going for a graduate degree right now. She came and spoke to every grade level, and our teachers made that arrangement. And teachers could tell me if I'm right or wrong. From my opinion, she had them mesmerized in the palm of her hand. I looked, I said, children pay attention to me, but look at the way they're listening to her. And she spoke to, what did she speak to them about? She spoke about, first of all, she said to them, boys and girls, I sat in the same seats you did, that you're sitting in. I walked the same hallways. I swam in the same swimming pool. And I had some of the same teachers that you have, a wonderful continuity of teaching staff. And she's talked to them about goal setting and how she set a goal in elementary school of becoming an Olympic winner and what she had to do to achieve that. She spoke to them about discipline, about study, of making good choices, about how to learn from disappointments. And she shared a number of disappointments that she had and how she learned from each one of them. And she mentioned how important it was to have resilience and to study hard and to develop interest and passions. And she highlighted the fact that at Beecher Road School, with the academics and everything else, there were opportunities for choice and the opportunity to develop different types of interests and passions. So she is one of our role models. This is what we want for our children as we look towards the future. And there are hundreds of models like Margot. Together is a beautiful word. Together is what happened today when we had our evacuation, with everyone teaming together. We couldn't have done it without it. Together is what happened when the town stepped forward and the school board and the district office and everyone stepped forward and said, well, how can we improve safety in the north parking lot? where can we get the money? How can we do it in a way that wouldn't burden the taxpayers of Woodbridge? And again, the steep grant came through, and Tony Genovese really, we'll call him the expert on steep grants there, but he teamed up with Al too, and they worked on this here, and then the town was able to do some of the paving. We couldn't do all of them, but they said we have some available workers or time now. We could do part of it now and put in a second steep grant. So that's togetherness. Talk about together. This is together. On that Friday afternoon, it's embedded in my head and my heart when we went with the playground technician, what is it, the playground inspector. I didn't know they had to go through 3 years of rigorous training for that. They know every nut and bolt. He looked at our playgrounds. He looked at us, it was a Friday afternoon, and said, boy, did the town get its money's worth out of these two playgrounds. 24 years old, so it doesn't meet the standards. Probably met the standards 24, 25 years ago. We took them down right away. Wasn't a popular decision, but I had confidence. The board was there and supported it, the parents supported it, the town supported it. Everyone got together and we figured out, everyone, the PTO, the faculty, administration, town departments, First Select and Board of Education, citizens of Woodbridge. I'll leave out anyone, throw them in, just think of them and throw them in. But we even had a weekend where you couldn't tell the difference between a neurosurgeon and I don't know, accountant or a day laborer, because people came in their overalls, seniors who didn't have children in the town and in school also, and helped. They came with their wheelbarrows and rakes and so on, and to save money helped us put up one of the playgrounds. But that combination of things helped, and Mr. Sheehy, in the ribbon cutting speech that he gave, spoke from the heart and said, I don't know of any small town or district that's put up 2 playgrounds in less than 6 months. And again, that was because of doing it together. Another example is, again, there were naysayers who say those lockers were badly needed repair. It'll take at least 10 years to have it done. Again, the board and the district, business managers, everyone getting together, town departments, we partnered. And with the arrangement of everyone consenting, some of the surplus money that we got from cost savings was put towards the lockers, and the town had workers coming in doing the demolition to save money and the prepping to save money. And we have the lockers. And when I work late hours and go down and watch the children swimming, or early hours and watches our seniors swimming and so on, then I feel good that we could feel good that our children are benefiting and our town is benefiting, our citizens are. So the message to me is we can do anything together. Once again, Beecher Road School is an adventure. It's a wonderful place. It's a unique place. People are coming from other districts, other parts of the state, other states, and other countries. That's why you see, we can't find the demographer. It's not his fault. It's our fault. It's our fault. The word is getting out there. I try my best to interview parents who come in and ask them why do they come to Woodbridge? Why did you? Well, got a job here and so on. And a scientist from Unilever. I said, why did you pick Woodbridge? He said, my colleague at Unilever said that's the place to go. And basically the same kind of words, different words, but the same sentiments expressed. So that's why there's the blimp. And I feel confident if we continue that, we're going to have a steady stream. I'm not saying we're going to go up to 1,000 again or anything like that, but it's going to be a healthy mix of people coming into our community. Our school system is very, very important. It was here long before I came, and people have done long before I came, did a good job of putting deep roots there. So what we're asking you to do is trust in us again. We won't let you down. Al, I keep telling you, we have to put please pass this budget. Okay? Continue the momentum that you have helped to create.
Trust is a very good word.
Well, I'm sure you'll appreciate this, Andy. My father taught us that a long, long time ago. Without trust, you don't have anything. So, and we will work hard to keep your trust. thank you for all your past support. We thank the Board of Ed that supported us, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, Mr. Sheehy. And if you give us a few minutes to just get settled, we want to take a stretch. Maybe I spoke too much, but then we'll answer any questions about the budget that you have.
Members of our board, and again, our Board of Education, I'm so impressed with the fact that they value education so much. They have hard questions for us, but it's always from the point of view of how can we raise the bar, how can we do a better job. But they're always there to support us whenever we say, this is what we need for our children. Give a good rationale, they're behind us. So I feel the support of the entire board tonight.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. We always put you on last, Dr. Stello, because we wouldn't want anyone to have to follow you. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I think he certainly covers everything in detail, but if anybody has any questions, fire away. Okay, let's go. Anybody?
I did have a quick one. I just wanted to know, you achieved the cost savings of 7% in the benefits line. I was just wondering how you did that.
Just a give you a chance.
Basically, as Dr. Stella mentioned in his presentation, we had negotiations with our largest bargaining unit, and they agreed to some plan design changes, increased co-pays, different levels of services, that, in checking with forecasts with our actuaries and brokers, we're able to support the projection that we got in the budget. And keep in mind that it is a projection, because at this point we do not have the hard renewal numbers, but is the best projection we have given the data and the population at the time.
So is that a separate calculation, Tony, or is that part of the overall? So
the healthcare, we have this. We're the same.
So it's possible that could go down. Possible.
It depends on where he's used his. They do theirs. Just
okay, the way they projected it.
Right.
Okay.
Projections are different, but the results are the.
Okay.
I'd like to thank Dr. Stella and the whole staff of Beecher, because you folks helped make our Civil War celebration an outstanding event, and one of the biggest things that's hit this town in the 38 years that I've lived here. So thank you all for that, and you especially.
We appreciate that. And again, compliments go to our staff. We had 3 Civil War impersonators, from what I remember, maybe more. I think Gina was dressed, right? And,
oh, yes.
Sheila Haverkamp and Sandy.
Yeah.
I also want to compliment you, Dr. Stella. I'd like to learn from you in terms of how to give these presentations, where you get all your images from.
This is a team, I have to say, it's a whole team effort. And it's what we say about knowledge building, to build on someone else's idea.
That's true. You have a
and
great
I turn
team.
around and I always give credit to our district staff, but also to our administrators and our teachers. These teachers represent our staff, and we had a long, hard day because it was a tense day. The fact that they're here to support the school and the budget and so on, and me, means an awful lot.
And I want to compliment you and the teachers in terms of being able to reach a negotiated agreement that is very responsive to what the demands are for the town from a fiscal perspective. And without really working together and trusting each other, that really wouldn't happen. And for many years that wasn't there, but it definitely is there now, and it's thank you to all of you for that.
Matt, if I could first piggyback on what Sandy said. One of the observations I've made, I attend your meetings every month. This proposed budget does represent the first year of a new labor agreement with the teachers union. And public sector, private sector, the largest expense in any budget is its labor costs. You have addressed that with all credit to you, Dr. Stella, and your administrative team and the faculty and its negotiating team. Your administrative team is here tonight. The faculty is well represented tonight. I think that speaks loudly to what Sandy said. And again, for labor to be included in a budget with such a modest, a requested budget, I understand, a proposed budget, but still with such a modest increase, I think that's worth acknowledging. I thought I'd just make a couple of other observations. Again, because I attend the Board of Education meetings each month, I pretend to know a little about the new core curricula that have been developed and will be implemented. Again, this is something that Connecticut is doing as one of 48 states, I believe you mentioned, Dr. Stella. I just want to acknowledge that work is being done in-house without the benefit of an administrative position that there once was in the not very distant past. There was a full-time curriculum coordinator. Your staff and your administrative team, working again collaboratively with the faculty, has developed these new core curricula standards in each subject area with the specialists, with the teachers. One at a time, a month at a time, they take turns making their presentations to the board. It's a terrific effort, and it's being done in-house at no additional expense. Again, without that full-time administrative position. So I want to acknowledge everyone's effort toward that transition.
Thank you very much.
The third thing, with regard to standardized testing and the demands that are put upon public schools statewide, we live and die with the technology that is available to us all. You are now responsible for these individual learning pathways. I think you used the phrase, well, you used it often enough for me to write it down. That is an extra burden, I believe, on our district, but on you as administrators of our district. And it does advance our commitment to the next generation and to prepare them for the world they'll inherit. But it's a tremendous administrative effort, and I know Nancy White is crackerjack. That's her passion, as I've learned, and I think it's a terrific burden on you that you are accepting and handling in stride. And I wanted to acknowledge that. The fourth thing, and I might not have mentioned it except you did. I see in the newspaper quite often how school districts work to limit their budget increases by eliminating programs, and particularly in the arts. And that's, I believe that's a great disservice to the next generation. This proposed budget preserves a vibrant and comprehensive arts program at Beecher Road School that is evident at the ceremonies when the band comes to play, and at the Civil War commemoration. And again, for you to propose a budget with such a modest increase and preserve what I treasure as an important part of a primary school education is worth mentioning. So, thank you.
And I appreciate your acknowledging our administrators and our faculty. This is the first year too that we've gone from the transition to pre-K to 6 school with a principal assistant principal model. We're very fortunate to have Gina Prisco with us. It was a very competitive search, and it's going very smoothly, but it's a lot of work considering all the mandates that are coming, but each one of them has just jumped into the task.
The only thing I would add is that most of you know we meet every month with Dr. Stull and Al Pulo and the chairman of the Woodbridge Board of Education, along with Matt Giglietti, myself, and Tony Genovese. So we have an ongoing dialogue each month about what's happening at the school, an open and frank discussion. And so that's been very worthwhile since you've been the superintendent. And as a result of that, I think your budget last year was approved as submitted, and the chances are this is going to happen again. I don't know how many towns in the state can say that they have this understanding between the school administration and the town administration working together to make Woodbridge a better place. So
certainly
thank you very much.
It's a wonderful model and the envy of many people, many of our colleagues.
So we're not to touch your pennies.
Thank you.
Okay, is somebody passing out the applications for the Guy Stella Fan Club?
Yeah, right.
Anything else for the board? Once again, great job, and
Thank you so much.
thank you for
Thank you very much for your service.